an award-winning Brazilian composer. He is poised to take over the Hollywood film scoring scene. Don't go anywhere as we get ready to gab with music orchestrator Leandro Gardini.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
And we're opening with some of the incredible music composed by Leandro Gardini. Before we get to Leandro, though, I have to introduce myself. My name is Katerina Cozias, and I'm your host today on Concert Experience. We are so pumped to be here because we have an opportunity to sit down with really talented musicians. You can get a hold of me before we get into the musician discussions anytime via my Twitter handle at Katerina Cozias. You can also find me there on Instagram. So at Katerina Cozias gets you gabbing with me. But we are here today to gab with Leandro Gardini. Leandro, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad, and thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. You are such a talented person, and we are going to help expose that to the rest of the world today because I absolutely believe in my heart that people need to know who you are. They do already, and that's why you're here. You have created a real buzz for yourself, a real pedigree in Brazil, but you are now in Los Angeles. Can you help share a little bit of your story for our audience of how you went from being a music composer in Brazil, starting really from your young age, to being here in the studio with us in Hollywood?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, my background was not really music. I mean, my family background. Okay. I'm the first musician in the family, and I started somewhat not very early, at an early age. I started with 13.
Oh wow, that's pretty old.
Yeah,
I mean, considering
at 15 I was already composing, and when I was 12 years old, I heard for the first time some soundtracks. To be more specific, I've heard the Gladiator soundtrack, Hans Zimmer, and I got so passionate about it. My background was, up to that time, my background was being trained classical music, and I wanted to be a classical composer. But when I started to get involved in film music, I got a passion. I said, no, I want to be more specific in film music, but orchestral film music, which is my really strength, is orchestral film music.
And so you are actually orchestrating, and the word orchestra means to create, to produce, to develop music. What is music?
Well,
when we break it down,
it's a good question. What is music? I keep asking myself every day. Sure. I don't know what is it, because people say it's sounds that create emotions. But is it really? If you see someone screaming in the street, it creates an emotion to it, but it's not really music.
This is a good point.
Well, I don't know what is music, but
yeah, but we all know to identify music when we hear it. And I believe what you said earlier, there is an emotion attached to it. Were you you studied music obviously then from when you were a young boy?
Yeah, I studied music. I started with piano, actually electronic keyboards. For 1 year, then I went to the piano, and then to composition. I first started composition by my own, and without any teacher or whatever.
Wow.
I just studied by myself. I wanted to express my own music on that, and when I was 15, I was composing my first piano concerto.
Very impressive. And you were awarded in 2011 a very prestigious award in this field in Brazil. You were the 2011 winner of, I think it was the Composer Revelation of the Year.
Yeah.
How did that feel to win that award?
Well, up to that time I was already scoring many movies. Not most of them not in Brazil.
Okay.
But some of them in Brazil. But I had a program like yours.
Okay. Yes.
At that time.
You had a talk show, your own talk show.
Yeah,
that you produced.
I was the hoster of the show. And
what was the show about?
It was about soundtracks and classical music.
And interviewing classical artists.
Yeah.
That's funny. So now the tables have turned.
Yeah.
And instead of being the interviewer, you are the interviewee.
I'm now in the opposite side, and it's really weird for me to be in the opposite side because I was to get questions to the guests. Yes. But now I'm replying to that.
Now you're on this
that's
side.
Amazing. But I love it.
So you were doing this talk show, this TV talk show in Brazil.
I had it for almost 3 years, and I can say that I interviewed a lot of people. I had a goal to interview all of them, but I interviewed almost all of them.
Amazing.
I mean, people that are relevant
Yes.
to the classical and orchestral.
Now, did you,
music
going
in
back
Brazil.
for just a moment to your childhood, were your parents musical?
No, they are not musical, not even today.
Wow. And yet you sort of fell into, even before you went into the orchestra side, even the classical side. Do you have siblings?
No, yeah, I have one brother.
Okay, is he
He's
musical?
older. He's older than me,
Yeah.
and yeah, we used to have a band together. But he's like a heavy metal guy.
Okay.
He's the opposite side of me.
That's funny.
And I remember when we were children only, and I used to like the sound of orchestra.
It's
the
a very
violins.
rich sound.
Yeah, but my brother used to like heavy metal at that time. And
But that time, in his defense, was sort of the early 90s probably, where you had the heavy metal bands like Metallica,
Yes,
Guns N' Roses.
yes, exactly.
There was that
Yeah.
influence. Where on earth did you get your classical influence from?
I don't know. I really don't know. I remember when people were turning the radio in several stations, and most of them obviously they are just popular music.
Sure.
But when I used to hear the violins, the sound of violins, the orchestra, I say, why don't you leave on that station? Say, no, it's too boring.
Wow.
Yeah, but I used to love that sound.
Yes, absolutely. And so you had you had won the award in Brazil for Composer Revelation of the Year. What does that mean? Explain that to the audience.
Well, it's called APCA,
Okay.
APCA, and it's one of the main awards that we have in Brazil. It's a pretty good one.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Just top artists, but
Yes.
it's not only for music, it's from TV, from radio, whatever. All kind of artists go there, and
Sure.
they have once a year this.
And you were the Composer of the Year in 2011. That is a big, big honor.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Now, how did you make the transition from from Brazil? What part of Brazil are you from?
São Paulo.
São Paulo, which I've always wanted to go to. How did you make the transition, and what was the driver behind your decision to come to the Los Angeles area? Because you do live here now.
Yeah, I live here, and it comes from beliefs.
Okay.
I always wanted to compose for big blockbuster movies. That was my passion, my desire.
Okay.
I was just composing for current movies, low budget movies and things like that. And I was in a hope that someone would see me on the internet and would call me, oh, come here, you are talented. Everybody knows, not everybody, but most people know that it's not going to happen. There's a lot of great composers living here in LA. And why would a great director call me in Brazil and say, hey, Leandro, come here, if they have many great composers here?
Here in the backyard.
Doesn't make sense. And I was already almost decided to come here, but I was in Europe. And in Europe, I was in a workshop, and one of the tutors of the workshop was Christopher Young. He's a Hollywood composer. And he listened to my music and said, why don't you go to LA and work for me for a few months?
Wow.
That's what I needed. And then I came and I decided to stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, because I think for anyone that really does have a vision and a goal for themselves, who wants to work in a field, and Los Angeles offers that, it really is, bar none, the one place that is creating and developing these blockbuster movies, and a lot of the video and television and musical content that is then shared with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Not to say that a lot of these countries don't do their own thing, and most countries have very active artistic abilities and artists that live in those countries, but Los Angeles and possibly New York for theater are really the epicenters of the world, I think. Maybe London as well for theater.
Well, there's a movement happening that is part of the globalization. And like in Dubai, they're opening studios there. And also in New Zealand, they're opening studios there. And I believe, I don't know, but I believe that in 10 years from now, or maybe a little bit more, Los Angeles won't be anymore the place for blockbuster movies. It will be diversified to some other places in the world. But Los Angeles will still be a great place to be in if you want to be like a good professional in the movie industry.
You had at one point decided to was it work under or work with or work through John Williams? Now, for those of you at home who may not know the composer John Williams, he is arguably the biggest and best music film score orchestrator in the world.
No question about that.
He's worked on films such as Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the Harry Potter movies. I mean, this man has been in the business for years and has really, really done well. Talk to me about his influence on your life and music and aspirations.
Well, like me, I think most of the people, they agree with your statements. He is the best film composer ever. And no other composer has composed so many memorable themes. And
he's worked on E.T. He's worked on you know, so many different projects he's worked on.
Yeah, and he's
Superman, I think, as well.
Yeah, he's amazing. I guess everybody can sing John Williams. Probably not everybody knows who is John Williams, but everybody can sing John Williams. And you have to have reference when you want to learn. And of course my reference is him. But here in the industry, like film music composers, we have a problem.
Okay.
I don't believe many people understand the mind of John Williams, how he thinks music to get that result. You know, we have a lot of studies about some other composers, but I've never seen people explaining the techniques and how John Williams think about music. So like 3 years ago, I decided to get the full score of John Williams and start studying his scores. And
Interesting.
It was really funny because I was in my studio. I used to stare at the screen of the computer for half an hour, only silence.
Just looking at the music composition.
Yeah, just thinking what this guy was thinking. I up to that time, I already had studied many theories and things that opened my mind for new universes about composition, and I thought, well, maybe now it's time to understand John Williams. And I got to his score and I could not understand. And I said, no. So nothing can explain, but there must be an explanation about it.
Okay.
And I used to ponder about his scores.
Okay.
For many, many minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes in silence. And I said, well, probably he was thinking like this. And I used to write down. It's not like a music, writing down music, but thoughts. Here he was thinking like this, like this, like this, like this. And I used to write down a lot, the way he was thinking. After some years, not some weeks of studying, I mean, now it's time to put it into practice. Let's make sure that my thought about his thought is right.
Okay, how do you go about doing that?
And then I decided to mimic him.
Okay, wow.
On some small chunks of music. And to my surprise, I was right on my guess. And then when I showed that to some people in the industry, I mean musicians, they said, man, that's amazing. I'd like to see that.
I was going to say, so that I make sure that I understand and the viewers understand, you basically took what you had come to understand was his thought process behind the music and took that thought process and created new music, or tried to recreate his music?
No, create new music based on the thought, on his thoughts.
On his thoughts. And this is a little bit fascinating to me, and I'm sure it's fascinating to the viewers at home, because in my mind, I always consider music to be creative. But in listening to you, it sounds as though there is a real analytical side of the brain that is used and tapped into to produce the music.
Well, there's a long debate about that.
Okay.
What is being creative? Because people think, oh, you have to create something totally new. But I think today it's impossible to create something totally new. You are always, you have backgrounds. We have 12 notes in the normal Western music, and we have scales, we have everything. So it's almost impossible to compose. We have even noise. We are talking about music. What is music? It's noise. We have even noise music.
Yeah.
We have all that kind of stuff. But we always have our background, what we've learned about. Oh, sorry. And imitation is part of the process of learning.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to find your own voice. Yes, that's true. You have to find. But you get matured imitating others. It's like a small child. A small child is growing up, and the first thing that he or she does is start to imitate his
What the
his or her
parents do,
father,
right?
the parents,
Yes.
the people that are most near to him. That's part of the. And then when it comes to the teenager age or something like that, he gets some
A little bit
some
of his own ideas
and
his
ideas
own,
and things like that. So it's part of the process. If you want to learn, I believe that if you want to learn about art, not only music but everything, you have to have idols. You have to have people, role models that you can mimic, and you can find your own voice through them.
Who were some of your early role models? Were they Brazilian in nature, or were they American in Hollywood? You said you didn't get into it until a little bit later in life.
Well, my favorite composer, classical composer, is Chopin.
Ah, yes.
And but curiously, my music, there's nothing to do with him, and shouldn't.
I assume you started playing Chopin as a young boy.
Yeah, and he's still my favorite composer. I don't listen to him every day, his music every day, but he's still my favorite composer. And my favorite composer in film music is of course, you know.
Yes.
I don't have to tell.
We have John Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's it. And the process is like this. You have to like something. You have to imitate something. And that's the project about John Williams. And as far as I know, there's a great demand in the industry for musicians to know what this book I'm writing about John Williams is about.
So you're writing a book about John Williams and the John Williams method?
Yeah.
That you think you have understood?
Which I believe it's his method.
Wow.
You know, I don't know yet because I don't know John Williams. I have met him twice by chance.
Sure.
But I don't think he knows about my project.
Okay. Well, he may be interested to hear about it, because it sounds as though you are trying to offer something to the rest of the musicians and the composers, the film composers out there, that will give a little bit of a roadmap almost to the genius that he has exhibited.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It really is genius what he has been able to do.
Yeah. And one of the most important things is that people think, oh, it's a method, it's a new kind of method for composing. No, it's not really a new kind of method. It's not new techniques. It's just the way of he thinks music. It's hard to explain. Even for a musician, it's hard to explain that, but it's not real new techniques.
Right.
I don't think I can write new techniques for music.
Now, you had in your attempt to model his work, you decided to take one of his projects, which was Jurassic Park, and do a musical score for a scene in Jurassic Park that hadn't been scored before. We have that with us. If we can pull up the John Williams Jurassic Park piece, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, that's the Avatar.
This is Avatar. Actually, if we can put so we'll put a pause on this one for just a moment, because this is a really interesting story too that I want to get to the Avatar stuff in a moment. But we're going to put on the Jurassic Park theme now.
Yeah.
For our viewers and our audio listeners, because again, we do stream on both YouTube and on iTunes podcast. Here we go. So now the sounds that we're hearing, like the birds in the background and this music coming in, is this your music?
It's my music.
Wow. And is this a replica of his music?
No. There's no music in this.
This particular scene had no music before.
There's no music.
And so what you did is you decided to use this scene to introduce your rendition of what you would consider music for this scene.
Yes.
That is fascinating to me. Let's watch this for a few minutes. Wow. And it's interesting because you can feel the crescendo and the emotion in this music. I had studied in drama, a drama class when I was in university, and part of what they had done was they had taken a scene like this and pressed mute, so there was no music being played. And then they took the scene and they showed it with the music. And the emotion that the music creates is almost double as powerful as the visual effects.
You can stop the video.
It's incredible.
Yeah, this scene, people that see this scene with the music now, they say, I can't believe there's no music in this scene.
Used to have no music.
But there's no music.
Right. In the original version of this scene.
In the original version, there's no music.
Right.
It was a chunk of the movie that when I saw it, I thought, what a great opportunity to put my music and everything that I have studied about the real composer of the movie in it.
Now, in order to do this, because again, you know, we are in the 21st century, it requires a lot of technology. So not only are you musically inclined, you clearly have an ability to work with technology. How much goes into something like this that is music versus the technology to put that music together? Because I assume that you don't have a 50-piece orchestra at home that you work with.
Unfortunately not yet. But yeah, I like to compose for orchestras, and I don't have an orchestra available for me 24/7. And yeah, we have to have some equipment at home.
But it's your ability to know when to insert the violin, when to insert the cello, when to insert the piano, that really creates the music.
Well, the way that people are composing today is that they go directly to their DAW. I mean, to their DAW, to their computer, and they just see the scene and they improvise. Most people are doing like this, with the sounds of the orchestra.
Okay.
But my way is a kind of old-fashioned.
Okay, how so?
I write a score first, the full score first. I spot the scene. Spot means putting the numbers at minute 1.2 seconds.
When Tyrannosaurus Rex is gonna bite someone, you want the music to be higher. Sure.
I write every happening in the score first.
Okay.
When there's no note, and then I start rescoring. And that's the process. And when I have the full score, and then I go to my equipment, sample libraries, whatever, to make it sound.
Now, does this process relax you or stress you out? Because me listening to it stresses me out.
Well, I guess I passed you the energy of stressing because, working with technology, technology is great.
Yeah.
You know, you can work in things like that and make it sound as real orchestra, but it takes time.
Okay.
You know, and I usually say that out of 1 hour composing an orchestrator, it takes 1 day for programming the music on a computer, because you are dealing with a machine. If you're dealing with musicians, just say, oh, play more softly, horns are too loud and things like that, and then you conduct them the way you want. But machine doesn't know, it doesn't think.
Yes.
And you have to tell to the machine each little tiny thing about your
you are
score.
literally putting every piece of this music together as you see it and hear it in your own mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible creative ability.
It takes time.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of pain in your shoulders and things like that, but it's amazing because I'm driven by the result and not by the difficulty of the problems. So when you have the image in yourself, you have the sound in your mind, and you know what is there, and you want to express that through the computer. Doesn't matter if you have pain in your shoulder, doesn't matter how much days it's gonna take, how many days it's gonna take. You just do it.
And that is a true testament to when people say have a passion for what you do. And I'm a really big believer in the proponent that when people have a passion for what they do, there is no way they will not be successful. And success to me doesn't necessarily mean financial success. I think first and foremost it means intrinsic happiness and the feeling that you have achieved something. And oftentimes because of that passion and that happiness and that great feeling that you happen to be in, the rest of it comes, and the ultimate result tends to be financial reward, which is always a nice thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, financial result is the result of providing service. And if you want to provide service instead of earn money,
Yes.
I think you are in the right way. It's a little bit different mindset. I want to earn money, and I want money through my service. But no, I want to provide service. I want to provide something to people, to my community, to the world. I want to provide something. And people are going to be interested in you because you are on an interesting mindset.
Yes.
And of course, people buy it.
Well, I had heard a very poignant quote that has stayed with me, and it says, "Your significance is what you put into the world. Your success is what you get out of it." So you need to be significant in order to really be successful, the way we think of big people like a Bill Gates or an Oprah Winfrey. When we consider how much they have offered the world, there is no doubt that the correlation for them has been the monetary reward.
Of course.
You know, and I think that goes part and parcel. You have talked to me about a dream of yours, and that is to work with the great director James Cameron, specifically to ultimately be part of the renewal of the Avatar series.
Yes.
Let's talk about this for a moment, because this is a great story, folks. Listen to this story. So, talk to me a little bit about James Cameron, and then we'll go backwards to Avatar #1.
Well, they're working on 4 Avatar sequel.
Okay. Now, we've only had the one release, and that was what, 10 years ago? 12?
Yeah, almost 10 years. It
Yes.
was 2009.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And they are working 4 now at the same time. And I really have the passion, and I really have the material. It's not only the passion, but the material, the team for the Avatar sequel. And I've been working on that for the past few months on that.
Working on scoring the music for that sequel.
I got some scenes from Avatar 1.
Okay.
I took the music and put my own on that.
So you literally took the music from the original Avatar,
Original
removed
Avatar.
it, and rescored those scenes, very similar to the way you did with Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Rescored the scenes of the Avatar movie with your music.
Except that Jurassic Park didn't have any music.
Right.
And that
Okay,
scene,
that's true. That was just introduction of music.
But Avatar has music, I think, almost all the movie.
Yeah.
And the original composer was James Horner.
Okay.
And he passed away in a tragic accident almost a little bit more than 1 year ago. He was an amazing composer. I have full respect for him. And I wish he could be here.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's not to provide us with his great music anymore. And it happened to me that when I've heard about his passing, I was really sad. But I had something. The place for Avatar was opened. You know, the place for a new composer was opened. And in some way, don't ask me why I felt that, but I felt that it was for me. And it was up to me if I want to say yes or no to this challenge.
Wow.
And I said yes. And I'm paying the price every day working on the Avatar. And I had a great idea to put my music on the first movie. And in some way, my music, there's nothing to do with the James Horner music. James Horner had a conception that must be very proximate to the James Cameron conception, but I had my own ideas about Avatar. And I composed a theme for it, and I wanted to express this theme in the movie. And as far as I know, the theme fits to the movie.
Well, we have a medley of the music that you scored for Avatar. We're going to play that right now.
Seeds of the sacred tree. Very pure spirits.
Now, this is all your music playing.
Yes.
Wow. And it sounds, you have captured that epic sound for me. These are epic scenes. Wow. I mean, come on now. That is beyond impressive to me.
Thank you.
Wow, wonderful.
Thank you.
It must have taken an immense amount of time and effort.
It takes.
It must
but
take.
I told you, I'm paying
Sure.
the price.
Right, absolutely. You have, we have one more scene that I'd like to show, and talk to us about this next one that we're going to show you. It's called First Flight.
Yeah, this scene is probably the most famous scene of the movie. First Flight is when Jake tamed the dragon and he can fly with it. And I think it was a good opportunity to put my team on that.
Okay. Let's take a look at this one.
First flight seals the bond. You cannot wait. Think, fly!
Fly? God damn!
Shut up and fly straight!
You know, the one thing about the music is it's so rich. And that's why I'm a big fan of orchestras in general, because of the layers of the music. And there are so many layers. I have a few friends of mine that produce music, and I've had the opportunity to sit with them as they work. And you can, when I say layers, it literally is.
Yeah.
And it can be 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 layers deep, and I can feel that in your music.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, orchestral music, I say that is like 3D music. You have to have a layer. There are many things that are happening in the score that we don't clearly hear that. But it's important to be there.
And probably parts of our subconscious mind are picking that up when we don't even realize we're consciously hearing it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's it.
So the goal now for you in coming up with this idea, which I personally consider genius, just a genius way to showcase your ability as a composer in a way that hopefully is going to capture the attention of James Cameron and his team.
That's a part. That's actually the goal of the project. I put. If you go to the website, to my website, leandrogardini.com, right in the first page, you're gonna see the Avatar project, and there's probably 4 or 5 scenes already in the website, and I'm working on another scene, which is probably the most dramatic scene I've ever scored so far. Which is the scene where the humans go and they attack the navies when there's the fall of the tree.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really, really dramatic. And I get like a heart attack when I'm scoring it. I spend like every day scoring it. It's amazing.
Wow. Wow, fantastic. We are really excited about having you here in LA because I really, this city is really interesting, and you probably will agree with me. It's almost like it has a magnetic pull to it, and anyone that has a vision and a passion and a belief in themselves that they can contribute on a larger level scale is somehow pulled here because of the creative factor that is just engulfs this city here.
I see Los Angeles as a city for dreamers.
And it absolutely is. And you know, it's been also a city of nightmares for some, because there are many artists who come here, and it's one reason they call it La La Land. But at the same time, it is the place where dreams really can come true.
Yeah.
And we saw that with David Cameron. Actually, David Cameron is Canadian. I'm Canadian as well, so I mean, he's been on my radar from way back. And you know, he's done the movies Titanic and Aliens, and everyone knows David Cameron. But he left a small town that really is not even pronounceable in Ontario, Canada, came to Los Angeles, pursued his passion, and currently has a net worth of almost $1.8 billion, has seen his movies go around the globe and back. And that is because of his belief and in himself and in his vision. And I really do, it's difficult for you at home to see this, but I am getting bombarded by energies of passion from Leandro, and I'm not even joking. Like, the energy in this room is so incredible because I can feel your strength behind this.
And you were telling about James Cameron, and his story is really inspiring. He was a truck driver, and he used it to for a few moments he used it to live in his car. He didn't have enough money, and surprisingly, we see like movies like Aliens. They didn't have a high budget for that.
Right.
It was kind of low budget.
The original Aliens, yes.
But what this guy did is like he's breaking paradigms in the movie industry. And I guess with Avatar, it's something totally new.
Again. And the thing that I find very interesting with David Cameron is he's not one of those directors that comes on the scene every year.
No.
He will take almost a decade to work a project to get it to the point where it is really perfect, and then we'll share it with the rest of the world. So these are big scale, not immediate return efforts, and it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of drive and a lot of persistence and a lot of these traits that unfortunately not too many people want to engulf and embrace.
Yeah, and he gives time to himself. That's one thing. People think, no, I have to produce almost every day. Yeah, probably you have to produce, but you don't have to produce exactly one thing. I'm a composer, and I would like to compose almost every day, but I don't compose almost every day.
Sure.
There's no way. Like the daily routine sometimes doesn't provide it for us. But like James Cameron, he reached the deepest spot in the sea. And
Yes. Literally, he went down there with technology to make this as authentic an experience for the rest of us as he possibly could.
After Titanic, people wonder what this guy's doing, enjoying the money that he earns. No, he was exploring the sea.
Right.
And that's amazing. I really admire him for the way that he thinks life and the way that he strives himself to make something bigger for life.
Yes. And you clearly have a lot of that passion in you as well. What are your goals? Where do you see yourself 30 years from now?
Oh, 30 years from now, I see myself as a successful film composer.
Which you are today, but I hear what you're saying on maybe on a more global level.
Yeah. And being a father of some.
Which would be very nice. No kids yet, correct?
No, I don't
Although
have kids
you
yet.
are married.
Yeah, I'm married with a lovely wife.
Yes.
She's the one that made my website, and she's
Fantastic.
helping me a lot. She takes care about my Twitter, I only take care about my Facebook, but all the rest is for her.
It's nice to have that support, absolutely.
Yeah, I have the support, not only for her, but from people, from my mastermind group.
What does your family think of you being out here and pursuing your passion?
They are supportive. Yeah, they're supportive. My father wasn't supportive when I decided to be a musician for the first time. But he decided, you are putting all your energy on that, and you know that is a very difficult career. I say, yeah, but what is an easy career? There's no easy career. And yeah, but today they are very supportive.
It's interesting because I was watching, oh, what's his name? The famous, oh, I'm having a mind blank. The famous, oh my goodness, I can't even think of the movie I'm talking about. He's Canadian comedian.
Probably, I don't know.
Oh no, you do. Jim Carrey.
Oh, Jim Carrey. Okay.
So Jim Carrey, his dad had always wanted to be an actor. But because he had a family, he thought, that's a little too tricky, I'm going to become an accountant. So Jim Carrey's dad, even though he had a passion for acting, became an accountant. 20 years into a career, he was laid off. And Jim Carrey talks about this incident, and he says, you know, that was a real turning point in my young mind, because what Jim Carrey says he came to understand was you can fail at something you love, but you can also fail at something you don't love. So why not try for something you love?
Yes.
And I think that experience translated to fueling something in Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey's story was similar. He came to Los Angeles from Canada, lived really poorly, and just had a big dream. And, you know, here we go, Jim Carrey 20 years later. So I think when you really do have something that is calling to your heart, you must listen to yourself, because everyone around you is going to have their own ideas and their own opinions, and everyone means well. I'm sure your father meant well, and it was good advice. Hey, you don't want to be flipping burgers.
Sure.
But you knew something inside yourself that you knew you were never going to flip burgers.
Well, probably.
I mean, you could.
Yeah,
and there's nothing against flipping burgers if that's your thing. If you're a chef and you're a cook, I'd love to come eat at your restaurant.
You know,
but
you don't have to be driven by the difficulties of life. You have to be driven by the passion that you have in your heart about everything. And difficulty, yeah, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
People just go ahead when they see that all traffic lights are green for life, and then they go ahead. But the traffic lights, not all the traffic lights will ever be green. Most of them, for most of us, they are red.
Right.
But it's up to us to make them become green. And this is growth. This is personal growth.
And to have the patience, the perseverance, the faith that they will in time turn green.
Well, compose for Avatar is something that shakes me.
Yeah.
Of course, I've never composed for a blockbuster movie, and I'm striving to compose for probably the most expensive one
Ever.
People say you are a dreamer. Yes, I am a dreamer, but the world is moved by the dreamers.
One of my favorite quotes is by Les Brown. He's a really well-renowned public speaker, and his quote is, "Shoot for the moon, because even if you fail, you will land among the stars." And that is so much higher than most people will ever land. So I commend you for your courage in pursuing this.
Thank you.
And I really was blown away when I first saw your medley and your clips from Avatar. You're working on a book, which for anybody in the composition world, I'm sure is going to be of immense interest when it is published. Mm-hmm. What else can we expect from you over the next few years? Just continuation of Pursuit of Passion?
Well, I want to score for the sequel. The sequel will be up to 2023, I think, if it's on schedule. Mm-hmm. And
so, David Cameron and team, if you are out there and you are listening to this, take a moment. I promise you it will be well worth your time to look at the work that Leandro Gardini has done, leandrogardini.com, and embrace the talent and the motivation that this person has, and all of the potential that I see in front of you.
I like the way the people here in the US, they say with the accent.
Oh yeah,
Leandro Gardini.
I'm gonna try it in Portuguese.
No, I don't try.
I'm gonna try. Wait. Leandro Gardini? Is that you say
oh,
it?
Yeah, it's somewhat like Spanish now. It's getting better.
It's a little bit better than American.
No, the Brazilian accent is like very difficult to mimic.
Okay, how would say your name for us the way you would say it?
Leandro Gardini.
Ah, Gardini.
But if I say I'm a descendant from Italians, I would say Gardini.
Oh,
time.
yes. So
Yeah,
I was going to say Gardini sounds Italian.
Yeah, but Brazil, I'm Brazilian, and
Okay,
I say
yes.
Gardini.
Gardini.
Yeah.
Leandro, is there anything you would like to leave our viewers with in terms of thoughts, in terms of information about yourself before we finish up today?
Well, we were talking about dreams, and I think it's very important because everybody has a dream, everybody has a vision, and but a few of us only go after it, and some go and they give up. And if you never give up, you can never fail, actually. And don't look at the difficulties, because difficulties is a way for learning, and we don't know all that we have to know. So embrace difficulties and go for your dream. That's the way you're gonna feel the happiness inside yourself.
I will be so thrilled to hear news of your becoming part of this bigger Avatar series project. I will throw those good vibes and prayers into the universe for you, because I really do believe it. I'm telling you folks, whoever's watching this, the energy in the room is incredible, and that is coming all from this gentleman right here to my left.
From you too. You are great, energetic people.
Yes, well, it's important to be. We're alive, and I think that's a message that you were just sharing with people. If you have a passion, regardless of what that is, even to spend time with your kids, do that. Leandro, LeandroGardini.com, Gardini.com.
Yeah.
You can go and you can find out more about this incredibly talented music composer. You can always reach me, Katerina Cozias, at KaterinaCozias.com, both on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget that you can tap in with us here at Concert Experience via our parent network, AfterBuzzTV.com. You can find us on our website, AfterBuzzMedia.com, also via YouTube and iTunes podcast. That is it for our show. It's too bad that it's over. I would love to talk to you for another hour.
What a great moment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being with us. It was a pleasure.
It's right there.
See you again.
See you. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.